Welcome, everyone. My name is Ricardo López, and I'd like to present to you a very interesting and relevant topic. I believe we have all heard the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility, from the Spider-Man movie, of course, when Uncle Ben said it to Peter. I think that everyone, after watching a superhero film, feels inspired, and I could bet that after watching Spider-Man, you were so tempted to sacrifice your hand so a spider could beat it and gain superpowers, or when you caught something and you thought it was impossible to catch it, you run to the roof and as if you can throw spider webs or something. It will be all fun and games until you have to go to the hospital or something. Well, unfortunately, none of us have superpowers. But the thing is that Uncle Ben, when he said this amazing phrase, he didn't actually know that Peter had superpowers, which is actually why I think this is the core message and idea of Spider-Man. What he meant was, if we have the chance and capabilities to help others, it is only moral to do so. And Spider-Man is just a more glorious and dramatic way of saying this. But none of us actually need superpowers to help others. So I've not come here to talk to you about Spider-Man, but I'm actually here to tell you about an event that me and my parents went through when I was 8 years old. And you have probably heard cases like this before, but here it goes. As I said, when I was 8, I used to be at the Boy Scouts, and one day my parents were going to pick me up. It was actually a really hot day, but along the ride, they saw a man walking through the streets. He was a homeless man. He was kind of shaking. He was acting weird. They just thought that he was drunk. They didn't get it much thought at first because it was really common to see homeless people walking through the streets, unfortunately. So they just went along, picked me up, but on our way back, we saw the same man resting on the floor. Well, he wasn't resting, he was actually laying on the floor, shaking, and he clearly had something on him. I mean, my dad insisted on the idea that he was drunk, but my mom, she got this hunch that something was wrong. So she begged my dad to stop and check up on him. So my dad did. And my dad is a very worried person, don't get me wrong. The thing is that the city where I live had many precedents of crime on the streets, so I think it's kind of understandable that he had this distrust on him at first. So once my dad came to him, he asked what was wrong, and the man told him that he was having a diabetic problem. So seeing him eye to eye, my dad could see that he was actually really unhealthy, so he offered him to buy some stuff from the convenience store that was right on the corner of the street. The man thanked him a lot. So afterwards, my dad felt more comfortable with the man. So he started asking questions about his past, how he got to that situation. And the man explained that he actually previously lived in the States and had a very decent job. He used to be a manager of a car shop, actually. So the catch was that he actually was an illegal immigrant. And one day, immigration services took him by surprise and deported him. He wasn't able to take his belongings or give his farewells to no one. The poor man was just left with his wallet, which was later stolen by some bandits once he was left north of the state of Nuevo León in Mexico. So we offered him a ride to the station and asked him how much money did he need. It wasn't that much. We gave it to him, and but my dad gave him the advice to make sure to just use that money to get home and nothing else. The man reassured my dad that that wasn't going to happen because he was so eager to see his family and get home. On the ride to the station, he continued to tell us about his awful journey, and we were all shocked by how many unfortunate and unfair situations he bumped into. He traveled all the way to where we saw him by foot or by hitching up rides from very few people. He had to sleep on the corners or hallways between buildings, and he never had enough food, and he was getting dirtier and dirtier as time passed by. He had no money and no way of contacting anyone. The man was trying to his best to make it to his family that lived somewhere in the state of Zacatecas. So one time he got so desperate that he went to some cops that were parked and asked them for help. But they were so insensitive about the situation and were just mocking him and even got to the point of beating him up just because they were mistrustful about the man. They just thought that he was just another typical homeless thief, and And they even threatened him to lock him up if he kept talking. And the man was so tempted of being locked up so that he could have a place to sleep and eat. And so he started insisting on it. But after hearing that, the cops just ignored him and went away. So now we were caught up to his situation. You see, this man turned out to be a very decent man who had very bad luck, and many people had the chance of giving him a hand. And he had a very tough journey. I mean, everyone just judged him by his appearance. And and if you get into his shoes, you can almost feel the frustration that he had to go through. We never actually were able to know if the man actually made it, but in the end, my family and I were left with this glad and proud sensation for what we did for him. But it also felt like a wake-up call because we were this close to just keep moving forward and leaving the man behind, just like probably many people did. But all it took to actually understand the situation was very little. We must stop judging people and start trying to think about what got people to where they are now. It doesn't take much to give just a hand sometimes when we have the chance to do so. And this is what I believe Uncle Ben actually meant with the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. Sometimes people believe they are good people just because they don't do anything bad or evil, but it actually requires more than that to be good. We must do good deeds and do our best to help others whenever we can. So just give it a thought. Thank you so much.